And where we're kind of running into a little bit of, I don't want to say difficulty, but where it's a little bit painful, sometime for our clients is when they're selling and also buying, right? Because you can't have both. You can't have a wonderful seller's market and then a wonderful buyer's market when you go to buy, when you're doing it simultaneously, right? And so a lot of our sellers, or many of our sellers, are concerned about that. They're like, okay.
Hey y'all, Katie here with Team Evo AZ. Thank you so much for following us and listening to our podcast. Here is season 3, and we are super excited for this season. As you know, we are based in the Phoenix, Arizona area, servicing buyers and sellers throughout the valley. But what you might not have known is we are expanding nationwide. So if you know of anyone that might be looking to get into the real estate business or needs to buy or sell a property, but it is not in Arizona, we can still help. Please feel free to message us and enjoy the show.
Hey everyone, it's Katie and
Matt.
And we are your real estate duo, married couple, here every other week, unless we're on break, telling you about real estate and life.
Yeah, that's what we do. Breaks are far and few between. That's why we're here every other week.
Well, it's important. It's important to keep our audience informed as what's going on in the Phoenix area real estate market. And there's lots going on, isn't there?
A lot going on. And as our month usually brings us, Alex, once a month, Alex joins us, and we are elated to have you. Welcome, Alex.
Elated to be here. What's up, guys?
For those of you who don't know Alex, and I'm surprised you wouldn't if you know us, but Alex we've been working together for how long now? Going on 9 years, I think it is.
It'll be 9 years in August.
Yeah, that's so crazy. Time
Alex was
flies.
7 when we met him.
It's true.
Hey, that's what we do.
We're all young.
Our son is 7 now, and maybe we need to start grooming him. But anyway, Alex is our senior buyer's agent extraordinaire. He is definitely a killer out there, which is why we love having him on the show.
Yeah, I feel like we always get real data, real news from Alex. So,
thank you guys.
He's a great resource. So thanks for being here.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about, come on, let's face it. There's the big topic of conversation is inventory's low. I actually looked again this morning, and I only look at single family, Pinal, Maricopa County, and valley-wide, like top to bottom, back to front. We're just over 3,000. So it's actually a couple hundred more than what we were playing with over the last couple of months, which is helpful. I don't know. I don't know how helpful it was this morning. I was doing a search and for buyers that's considering selling as well. And she wanted the Queen Creek, Santan Valley area, fairly easy wish list, 4-bedroom, pool, single level. That's it. That's all she gave me. And in Queen Creek in Santan Valley, there was one property that came up under 500,000. Wow. One.
Yeah.
So inventory levels are low. Buyers are having to kind of bend over backwards a bit in order to secure a property. Sellers are loving it. Of course, it's really, really fun for sellers right now. But some things have changed over the course of the last couple of months. I know that we had met a couple of months ago. I think it was more toward fall, maybe the end of the summer. And we spoke a bit about, hey, what are these things that home buyers here in Phoenix area are needing to do to secure property? And things have changed a little bit, haven't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a little understatement.
Yeah.
We're having to do a little bit more bending over backwards than what we were doing before. Is that right?
week after week after week, it's a little bit more bending. So, yeah.
But I think, like, to what Kate was saying, like, we've been monitoring this. We've been talking. We talk once a month. We have our meetings twice a month, and we talk about the data that Kate brought up. And one of the things that I've noticed in the last 2 months is we've been holding strong. And I feel like it's not getting worse as far as less inventory. Right. It feels like we've kind of hit this. This is where we're going to be. And I'm not only telling that just by the amount of actives that are on the property, but balancing that against our coming soons. So when you really look at, let's say a Tuesday or a Wednesday That's going to give you an accurate depiction of how many homes went on the market over the weekend. That's usually our lull.
Right.
And you can kind of then see it always spikes up over, a certain number. But you look at the coming soons and they've remained that same healthy number, which makes me feel like this is where we're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like, hey, there's enough there to make buyers say we're going to get the house we want right off the bat. But it's good enough to say, hey, definitely put your toe in the water, invest some energy if you're thinking about being a buyer, so you can take advantage of these rates, take advantage of these lower prices, because it's going to keep going up. There's no doubt. Every analyst, everyone says it in Arizona, not saying that's nationally,
Right.
but over the next 12 months, we're going to see further appreciation.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have the ability to buy now, try it, do it. It's just like you said, they're going to keep going up. Interest rates are going to eventually go up. Then if you have the ability now, try it. What are you going to lose? You're not losing any money if you don't get a house.
Right.
So yeah, you lose a little bit of time, but it depends. It's on your free time when you're looking at properties. So you gotta at least try if you want a house right now.
Yeah, and like to say that, like you said, your free time, with today's technologies and especially what we really preach to a lot of our buyers is the mindset to really prepare yourself mentally for this quest. You want to be prepared financially, but mentally going up against all this competition, and really setting proper expectations is key. You couple that with the technology we have, you know what I mean? You're exactly right, Alex. It's not a lot of time. You know what I mean? It's actually way better than if we were facing this market. Remember 2006, I remember doing that. And, we didn't have the MLS that we had now. It was so old school. Our showing process, everything was so stressful when there was no inventory. So now we kind of have that luxury. So buyers should definitely capitalize on that.
I totally agree. And I feel like buyers just need to just come to grips with the fact that it's not a buyer's market. And they're going to have to bend over backwards, and they're probably going to have to bend over backwards for a little while.
Yeah.
There are some buyers that I have spoken with over the last couple of weeks. One in particular who is legitimately angry and was blaming sellers for being greedy. And I listened to him because you got to let people vent. And I asked him, and I said, "Sir, if somebody walked across your threshold and offered you $50,000 more for your house right now, would you take it?" Well, yeah. Okay. Is that you being greedy then? So it's not like the sellers are causing this to happen. And they're just being given this.
Yeah.
And so I feel like buyers have to, I understand that it's really frustrating, but I feel like buyers have to understand it's not sellers that are doing this. It's the market condition.
I think most of them are now. I think the fact that this has been going on now for, a good solid 8 months, that the buyers that are left, the buyers that are doing this, the majority of them understand what we're going on. And to, like you said, you're going to be bent over backwards. Well, for someone that doesn't stretch and someone that doesn't do gymnastics, that's a painful ask. But hey, if you stretch and you do the things necessary, bending over backwards is just another day to someone that's prepared.
Right. Right. And just to understand what has to happen. A couple of weeks ago, I had a little condo in Scottsdale that I put on the market. I got, 40 showings in one day, 15 offers. The offer that ended up getting the property wasn't a cash offer. And I had a couple of cash offers, but this particular buyer and agent knew what they were doing and removed contingencies. And, like for instance, inspection, remove the appraisal contingency, hard earnest money, all of this stuff. Right. And what that agent said to me was perfect. He said, "My buyer understands what it takes. Here you go."
Yeah.
Boom.
And guess who got it? And they weren't even the highest offer either.
Yeah. Well, it's all just like you guys are saying. It's all about setting the right expectations. With every single one of my buyers, I tell them, hey, if you've got a pool of money where you can put for repairs or difference in appraisals, then waive these things if you're comfortable with it. If you know what you're looking at as far as repairs go, or what you're looking at physically with your eye when you're walking through that house and you're comfortable with it, you can do these things. Now, is it a risk? Of course. you don't really know what could happen. You don't really know what's going to come up on that inspection report. You're not a professional in any way, but if you're willing to take the risk, then do it. It's setting the proper expectations with everybody. If you know what has been selling in that neighborhood, then you kind of have a good feeling of where that appraisal is going to come in at. Even though, you can't even look 30 days back on appraisals now. It's not anymore.
I don't pull comps past 30 days anymore.
Yeah. But what it is you're paying what you're willing to pay. You're paying what you think it's worth, right? Yep. So, property values are moot now. That's just how it is.
Well, and it's interesting that you say that, because the conversation that I had with the gentleman that was angry about the sellers was, it was a long conversation. He's like, so what you're telling me right now, Katie, is I'm not going to get a deal. And I said, well, sir, that depends on what you look at as a deal. 3 months ago, I would have told you weren't going to get a deal either. But if you would have purchased 3 months ago, you'd have $50,000 worth of appreciation in your house right now. Is that a deal? Is that a deal for you? And so of course my husband
She didn't
says,
say it that intense.
well, my husband says I have an answer for everything. So of course I do, but it really made him think, oh, okay. So if I jump in right now and stop dragging my feet and waiting for this deal to come around, I'm actually getting a deal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think right now, one of the boundaries, or like one of the things that we're seeing is, like you said, appraisals. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it seems like, from my experience, from your experience, from what I'm hearing, we're not having a lot of appraisals come in wildly low.
We're not. No.
Even if people are going and they're offering $50,000, $60,000 more, at the end of the day, when these appraisals are coming in, if they're low, they're $5,000, $10,000. They're not like this obscene amount. The second we start seeing that change, which we will, when banks start to feel it, when they start to see things, on their risk analysis, we're going to see that. We've seen it before. That's how they kind of get ahead of all this, by adjusting that. So if all of a sudden a month goes by and a lot of buyers are saying, oh my God, I'm now responsible for coming out of pocket 30, 40 grand, people are going to start hearing that, and people are going to become more conservative with their offers. People will actually walk away and say, keep my earnest money. Yep. I'd rather walk away from $3,000 than have to pay this difference.
Yep.
And I think that's going to be one of our indicators. But right now that's not the case. So everyone should totally take advantage of that, because banks are lending on it, which is great.
Yep. Interesting you say that, because my little condo that I told you about, they did get an appraisal. They waived it, so it doesn't matter to me, but they ended up getting one. And we appraised, and we were $20,000 over list price. And my list price was $15,000 over any comp in the area.
Yeah.
Wow.
So banks are, they're not feeling it yet. They're not thinking of it, especially here in Arizona. So keep the pedal to the metal. But yeah.
And where we're kind of running into a little bit of, I don't want to say difficulty, but where it's a little bit painful, sometime for our clients, is when they're selling and also buying, right? Because you can't have both. You can't have a wonderful seller's market and then a wonderful buyer's market when you go to buy, when you're doing it simultaneously, right? And so a lot of our sellers, or many of our sellers, are concerned about that. They're like, okay, well, if what do I do? Do I sell my home first, go into an apartment or a rental, try finding one of those right now too? That's awfully difficult. So I have my money in my pocket, so I'm not contingent when I go after the other house. Can I do that without moving in between? And so that has been really kind of an interesting spot for us, hasn't it, Alex, over the last couple of months, is really coordinating that. And we've got a couple of tricks up our sleeves. We've got, the reverse contingency that we've used. We've used, lease backs, things like that. But I was really stoked. What was it, like 6 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago, something like that, when we came across this program that we're now able to offer that helps alleviate this situation for our sellers. And I don't know how many of, other agents are able to offer this, but we have the connections and we are able to. And it's a neat program. We have a couple of buyers that are kind of getting qualified and buyer sellers, and are getting qualified to go through this program now. Can you speak a little bit to the program, kind of how it works, what the buyer's expectation can be, and why it's helpful in alleviating this situation?
Yeah, so it is a loan program where basically the seller, who is going to be a buyer, does not have to put in contingent offers on their next property. And in that difficulty, I mean, with everything, I mean, as listing agents, we do, when we see contingent offers come in, we kind of cringe a little bit.
Yep,
You
I
know,
don't want it.
yeah, and yeah, contingent buyers, they can be strong because everybody's made a lot of money on each one of their properties. They got big down payments, but they also got long close of escrows. We also got to rely on another transaction to go through smoothly. So what's the best way to alleviate that when we have a buyer seller or a seller buyer is to this program right here, which basically eliminates that contingency overall. So there, what basically we're able to do is we can project what their equity is going to be. And then they're able to put that as their down payment or whatever down payment they choose, and then put in offers from there. The cool thing is, and this would be absolutely impossible if it were to happen, if after you purchase a property and their house, we have to obviously sell their house right after. If their house doesn't sell within, I think it's 90 days, they'll buy the property. Which that's just a little piece of the program, but they also give $25,000 towards updating the property as well to get it ready for sale while you're going under contract with the other property too. So it's a lot of little preparations that help alleviate just a lot of the mess that goes in between a contingency and alleviates it for both sides of the parties.
Yeah, it's super cool.
And just to kind of clarify, this is really targeting obviously those sellers that aren't in a position to qualify to purchase a home without selling
Both
theirs.
of them, correct.
Okay?
Yes.
And they need to extract the equity out of the current home in order to put the money down on the new home. So this program basically says, okay, buyer, here's your down payment. Go ahead and buy your house. And then they give you 6 months to sell your home. They actually pay 6 months worth of your mortgage payment if needed. And like Alex said, if it goes past a certain period, they'd be willing to buy that. Plus they give you 25 grand to fix up your house if you need to, in order to, get more for it. I think that's brilliant. It's not gonna, it's gonna cost you a little bit, of course, cost of convenience, but we're no stranger to that. And I believe it's I believe it's a little extra origination fee, Alex.
Yeah, I believe it's like a 2% origination fee. So it's
in the grand scheme of things.
You know what I mean? Especially and like you said, it's a cost of convenience. You're already moved into your new house,
right?
That your house that you're about to sell is going to be empty. It's going to be cleaned out. It's going to be, perfect, ready for sale, unless you want to stage it and leave some furniture there. Also, if you want to do repairs to the new property, you're actually able to live in your current property and do repairs to the new property, or vice versa. If you have to do it for the old property, you can do that. So it actually makes it a lot more comfortable for both the sale and the buy.
Well, and I think something to really consider is that the savings in that. So you're paying a little bit more toward origination fee. You're paying for the convenience of this whole situation, but you're also not, having to store your things. You're not having to get a rental. There's all these things that you're not having to do.
The other side of it too is, I never want to base things off speculation of appreciation from when it's your primary residence. But in this situation, if you did do that and took advantage of it, and you hang on and you don't sell your current residence for 2 months, how much did you just appreciate in the 2 months since you decided to put it on the market?
Exactly.
It's probably going to take care of the difference in money that you used to bridge it.
Yep.
Very true.
So, it's just one more way to look at it. Now, once again, don't hang your hat on that, but it's good to do your numbers, look at your data. Us as your realtors can actually help you project and kind of look at that so you can plug that into your spreadsheet.
Absolutely. I mean, that would have worked beautifully for somebody 2 months ago that did it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Imagine.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they would have, if it was a $300,000 or $400,000 house, they would have made $12,000 in appreciation easily, which would have swallowed up those 2 points and no problem.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
so
Plus the having a lot less stress is definitely valuable. You know how stress affects you. Stress affects everything you do. Stress affects work. It affects your enjoyment. I mean, everything.
Your decision making.
Your decision making. Good point. Good point. Yeah. So I'm excited about this program. I'm excited to see how many more people we can help, with a less stressful moving situation, because, selling and buying at the same time it's right up there with like divorce, I think.
Well, and they're saying it's a leading cause, like that's
of divorce.
Yeah,
probably is.
It is like sign. Yes, I was reading a thing the other day that was saying, selling and buying in today's market is like the leading cause of people like that straw in the back. I mean, but okay, got to stimulate industries.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see how that one pans out. But what other things out there are you seeing that's different in the last couple of months that buyers are having to do to secure properties?
One thing that I have yet to see, actually, which I've been throwing out there, and I think you and I have discussed, is buyers offering to pay seller closing costs. Mm-hmm. And I think this is something that we are going to start seeing. If not, others have been using it already. Because when you think about it, and Matt, you're a numbers guy, it's all about the seller's bottom line, right? Mm-hmm. If you're offering to pay for the seller's closing costs, that the appraisal differences kind of go out the window, and then it's basically like free money. Mm-hmm. And those seller closing costs are going to be around 1%. So on a $400,000 home, that's a free $4,000 right there. So I feel like that's an interesting one that I feel like we're going to start seeing. Definitely seeing a lot more waived inspection periods, not even a day of an inspection period. And we're talking about a normal inspection period, 10 days. So completely waived inspection periods. We're seeing that a lot more often. We've already talked about appraisals. That's just a given. That's just that I feel like that's what everybody's doing, is waiving their appraisals now. A lot more post-possession agreements. I tell my clients, hey, if you have the ability to stay in your current property, or you have somewhere you can go in between, and then that property that they're offering on is also occupied, throw in a post-possession agreement for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks to that seller, because it'll actually ease their minds. Sometimes I feel like whenever I throw in post-possession agreements, people want to work with me a little bit more. They'll call me up like, hey, you were one of the few who offered a post-possession agreement, but your number, let's say my purchase price wasn't high enough. Are you able to work with me here? So I feel like I get a little bit more flexibility when my clients throw in those post-possession agreements. Mm-hmm. Let's see, from there.
Hard earnest
money deposit. Let's say you could do it right from the bat. So hard earnest money deposit from day one, or you could do a hard earnest money deposit within a certain day of the contract. Let's say day 15 of a 30-day contract. Or after a certain contingency, like after your inspection period, if you even have one. So hard earnest money deposit is definitely one as well.
Mm-hmm. And that is non-refundable earnest.
Yeah, that is yes. Sorry, that it means you are not getting your earnest.
I'm the one who said it.
Yeah, you put words in my mouth.
Sorry, you were going to say something?
No,
you weren't.
No, Alex ended up kind of covering it, and that was just saying, are you seeing people actually doing hard money, the hard earnest money, non-refundable earnest money that first day? I mean, because at the end of the day, you could waive your inspection period, but you're still protected by things like property disclosure statement, all these little things that you could buy yourself 4 to 5 days. But I guess that's the advantage of having an experienced buyer's agent, because there's a lot of seller's agents that don't think about all these little things that you can do to get out, and so
And yeah, I mean, it just happened with Katie and I. We just accepted an offer with a hard earnest money deposit. So
That's awesome.
Incredible. 16,000 over list price for a 425 house. 16.
yeah,
Hard earnest money right off the bat, get go. And I think it's like 2% too, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah, 2%. So over $8,000 non-refundable, 0 inspection days, appraisal waiver, 4-week lease back for free.
free,
So they're not
$0.
even paying market rent or anything. They're renting their house. They're getting a free month, basically.
Wow.
Yeah. And we said, sign right here.
It's a great offer.
Yeah, definitely a solid offer. Very, very excited for my sellers. That's fantastic. All right, gentlemen. Well, is there anything else that we think that we need to add to this conversation?
No, I think we kind of touched on some of the stuff we're seeing right now and important stuff for our listeners and followers to kind of digest and think about and share to their friends.
Yeah, definitely share it, guys. I mean, it's knowledge is power. Knowledge is key. And if you have a friend or family member, someone you love, they aren't always one and the same.
So true.
If you have somebody that is thinking about getting into the real estate market, maybe they're having some difficulty because they're in it. Maybe they just are totally confused and they don't know what they want to do or what they should do and when. Definitely share this podcast. We are here every other week unless we're on a break between seasons, but we are here and we are constantly talking about what's going on in the market, how people can get ahead, how they can work with it, and then also the statistics. The statistics they're so important. Because oftentimes I speak with clients, especially buyers that are getting frustrated, and they just don't understand what's going on. And when I say, hey, look, we normally work with 16 to 18,000 single family homes on the market, which is fairly comfortable for us. And we're working with 3,000 right now. Then they get it. And it's just sharing that simple piece of information that just really helps people wrap their head around it so they can understand if they can get in the game. Is this really a fit for me right now? And I've had some buyers that have decided that it's just not a fit for them right now. And that's okay, but it's good to know. It's good to have the knowledge.
It's tangible, and that's what people need to set their own boundaries. And it's really important. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, so please subscribe, follow us, download these episodes on I think we're on most of the podcast platforms. So any of your favorites, of course, our favorite is iTunes. There's also Google Podcasts. I know that we're on them all. So do us a favor and download the episode. So then that way more people can get the information.
Yes.
The real news.
The real news.
Get the real news to the real people. All right, Alex.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex.
Guys, of course, guys.
Bye,
Thank you for having
everyone.
me.
Bye.